All right, everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Top Producer Show. So our mission is to educate, equip, and train servant leaders. Our vision is to create financially independent achievers, and our purpose is to help people grow. And right now we're going over The Tipping Point in Leadership by David Bird. So we're on chapter 6 today, and we're going to be going over the effective leader. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Apathy is no match for the effective leader. So appointed leaders fill the halls and offices of every organization in the world. However, being delegated to the role of leader does not automatically qualify someone as an effective leader. Effective leaders are unique. They're consistent. They know what works and they know what doesn't work. As a result, they foster positive and creative work environments, deliver measurable and sustainable results, and maintain the ethical integrity of the workplace. Appointed leaders need a development process. Every appointed leader needs a proven and consistent leadership development process to hone his or her effective leadership skills. No slight, but appointed does not equal qualified. The only true measure of leadership quality is effectiveness. Effectiveness is a consistent process by multiplying what works and eliminating what doesn't work. Effective leaders are aware of their personal creative power and how forces of apathy affect people in the organization. The 6 qualities of effective leader. So I've found over the years and experience from basically the studying that I would take more pages than anyone would read to completely discuss all of the assessments to qualify the characteristics of a leader. The goal here is to simply generate awareness among existing and future leaders as significant and effective leadership. As you know, all change must first begin with awareness. With that, I said there are 6 qualities of a leader. So number 1 is effective leaders believe in people. One of the dramatic qualities of an effective leader is the skill of developing people. This skill comes from effective leaders' high belief and expectations. The values of effective leaders demonstrate their belief in people. Effective leaders value the potential of all people and expect everyone under their charge to be responsible and effective. This positive expectation of high belief in people builds self-fulfilling prophecies. In other words, effective leaders usually get what they expect, and they expect people to perform. So the skill of developing people must be practiced. So 2, effective leaders attract employee involvement, or, he mainly was talking to the corporate world, so it's an employee-based world, but the same thing is true in B2B and with what we do inside of direct sales. So one of the most common terms we hear in an organization is buy-in. They talk about first buying into the leadership team and then their level managers and then the entire organization. Sadly, 6 months later, we couldn't get the project off the ground because we couldn't get buy-in. Buy-in starts with the leader themselves and then the vision. Some people, years ago, a Wall Street study discovered that all of the strategic initiatives undertaken by organizations in the study, approximately 80% of the initiatives failed within the first year. Something is not working. There's an old saying, the fish stinks from the head down, and it's definitely what he believes. Leadership must be taking full responsibility for less than impressive results. Instead of seeking buy-in, leaders need to attract it. And again, John Maxwell says it starts with the leader. The buy-in starts with the person, not with the objective, not with the mission, not with the vision. It starts with the person themselves, their qualities. Effective leaders communicate effectively. Communication is a two-way street. There's always a giver and a receiver. The communication given and the understanding received must be congruent and unimpeded, or effective communication cannot take place. Often, when leaders are describing communication problems with their organization, I find those problems are usually simulated from the top down. This is because organizations model the communication styles of their leaders. And again, leadership must assume the responsibility for establishing the proper environment for effective communication. Most often, problems is the leaders are not aware of the components of effective communication. Effective leaders don't seek buy-in, they attract it. Effective communication is all about style. We all have a certain style of communicating, and as a style is usually learned by past experience and conditioning. So style usually think of themselves as good communicators. Most leaders do. Effective leaders are aware of the importance of both feedback and exposure to communication styles. Leaders with the most ineffective communication style usually think of themselves as great communicators. On the other hand, have you ever worked with people who wouldn't stop talking about themselves? This is also frustrating. So there's one case where they say nothing, the other case where they won't stop talking. This is an obvious misuse of exposure and absence of significant feedback. There are two fundamental types of development in effective leadership styles. First, become aware of your existing communication style. Second, learn what an effective communication style looks like. With this awareness, a gap between your current style and effective communication is established. 4, effective leaders use real motivators. I find it interesting that most leaders do not know what real motivators are. Some leaders use fear, some leaders use incentives, some use a combination of both. Any of these forms of motivation is carrot and stick approach. The problem with the carrot and stick approach is that today's carrot incentive always becomes tomorrow's expected benefit. The stick only works when the fearful leader is present. Leaders become aware they can take action to take charge. The only form of permanent self-motivation is personal motivation. People act instinctively from their own internal motivation. We may what? To the temporary forces of we may acquaintance. I don't know. Anyway, the effective leader is aware of how to use the personal internal motivations of people in support of the common good of the organization. So basically what you're doing is getting them to buy into themselves versus buy into the organization. The only form of permanent self-sustaining motivation is personal motivation. So 5, effective leaders know how to share power. Sharing power is basically the real issue. The misuse of this can be devastating. The following examples of demonstrating the use of power, and he goes into a couple different stories of people doing it. Effective leaders exercise power by appropriately sharing it. But you can only share power with people who understand what's going on. When a leader becomes 80% effective at anything, it's when they should start learning to take over. And every employee would rather work for an effective leader versus a non-effective leader. The 6th and final trait is effective leaders use the most effective leadership style. There are 5 different styles of leadership: the comforter, the regulator, the taskmaster, the manipulator, and the developer. Statistical research done says universities conclude that the comforter was the least effective, the regulator was next to last effective, the taskmaster was moderately effective, the manipulator was more effective, and the developer was the most effective. The most amazing result of the research is that the developer style was determined to be 92% effective in the execution of characteristics of effective leader. Employees want effective leaders. The developer is almost twice as effective as any other leadership style. That's because the developer demonstrates all of the effective leadership qualities: believes in people, attracts involvement, is an effective communicator, uses internal personal motivation, shares power, and participates in the most effective leadership style. Effective leadership is a choice. I find leaders who have sold out to a compassionate, caring model of leadership, but is merely a reflection of their mistrust in people. These leaders have such a low belief in people that they project, isolate, and do work for them, which obviously isn't going to work out. If you aspire to servant leadership, you must believe, trust, and empower and challenge and develop your people. If you truly love your people, then you will demand their best, not coddle and protect them. They simply compare their Indeed actions to the developer model. Anyone of a sound mind can learn developer leadership style and become effective. So, Chapter 6, summary. Effective leaders are unique. Being delegated the role of leader does not necessarily qualify as a leader. So a leadership is, as John Maxwell say, leadership is effectiveness, period. It can't be appointed. Effectiveness is consistent process of multiplying what works and eliminating what doesn't. Effectiveness is the only true measure of leadership quality. The effective leader practices research proven qualities of effective leadership. 5, the pattern of your leadership development process by the 6 qualities of an effective leader. And then 6, the real servant leader is a developer of effective leaders. So there's one chapter left that is for Monday.
Yep.
Because it's Friday.
It's Friday.
So effective leadership is a key overcoming apathy. So we're going to go over effective leadership and an organization. Going over the book, Tripping Point in Leadership by David Bird. What else?
All right. If you guys haven't yet, you want to go subscribe to our YouTube channel so that way you guys get all the notifications for when we are live. You also want to go on our Facebook page and join that as well. So with that, that's what we have for you guys. And have a good weekend. Have a good Easter. And we will see you guys on Monday. Girl, are you hungry? Are you hungry?